agenda tonight is to approve the minutes for June 21st, 2018, review financials, vote reorganize the board. At 7:20 p.m. decisions, accept and vote case number 18-11, 77 Railroad Avenue, accept and vote number 18-12, 50 Movie Road. And at 7:25, continue public hearing, case number 1806, Marion Way, and after that, adjourn. So, you had a chance to read the minutes, so I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as presented.
The motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I think we've all had a chance to look at the financials. This is the balances of 717. Okay, any discussion on the financials? Hearing none. Okay. Where Donna is not here tonight, we'll postpone the reorganization of the board to next month.
Unless you want to stick her with all the jobs.
Yeah.
Not here.
Just vote her in her absence.
Make that motion. She'll come back shocked. I know we'll come back.
All right. So, all right, we have two decisions that we have to vote and accept. First one is case number 18-1177 Railroad Avenue. And I think we've all had a chance to read it. Decision of the Raleigh Zoning Board of Appeals on the protective zoning bylaw petition of David dated 4/19/18 for special permit other side variance on property located at 77 Railroad Avenue to request relief from the Raleigh setback bylaws, requesting the ability to expand an existing non-conforming residential structure.
We already read it.
Okay? You all read it?
No.
I did.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the decision as written?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to simply add, as it relates 1811, that the decision was authored by Member Cool. I think it's an excellent completed document.
Thank you for those kind words.
I wasn't well aware that he had done that. And I think he did a fantastic job.
I agree.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Happy to pitch in.
Huh?
Happy to pitch in.
Just took a little arm twisting, that's all.
Yep. Wish there'd been some money involved.
Yeah, no. We're all in
Now
debt.
you're asking for Miracle.
Okay. Next one, case number 1812, decision of the Raleigh zoning board of appeals under the protective zoning bylaw on petition of ONG Design and Construction on an application received on May 7th, 2018 for a special permit on property located at 50 Newbury Road that indicates a desire to create a 9-lot open space residential subdivision with a paved roadway suitable for meeting the access needs of the 9 proposed single-family residences to be built. We've all had a chance to look at that case.
Yep.
And, I know Tom wrote this one.
Yes, he did.
I did.
I know he wrote that one. Very worthy.
Because it's long. Right, we're gonna test you now going forward.
It'll be a quiz.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the case number 1812?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving right along.
Yes.
I don't expect any people to arrive tonight. So, we have a problem, so we only have 4 members. And I have to make sure that she gets all the information discussed tonight. Otherwise, you won't be able to vote on it.
Wouldn't she just need to get information from tonight's meeting? That's what
Just the information that
Let's generate.
received tonight. Okay? So, we're 2 minutes ahead of time.
Last meeting, you were supposed to go to the town, you have that information. The town wanted more information, the town boards, did you do that? We didn't get any letters from the town, right? Saying that you did? Did you get a new purchase and sale agreement, is that it?
I received that in the mail this afternoon from Bruce Tompkins, and I didn't bring it with me, but Mike Crow will sign it and then we'll mail it in.
Here's my only question. Should we continue if we don't have everything here that we were supposed to have here?
If,
That's what
my
I'm
suggestion,
referring to.
I mean, we have had.
Everything gets continued.
Correct.
Continued. It's getting, you know, we want to get it over with too,
I
probably.
understand.
And
If
you
there's
get that
no letters, if
letter
you-
from the town on your renewal, I just did 3 things.
If you've received no letters from the departments, then maybe there's, I mean, because we don't have the ability to know on the short notice that they might have, whether they did send things in. I mean, there's been communications from us and some of the departments, but not everything is necessarily resolved or completed, so therefore,
Yeah.
if you don't have any of those responses, then maybe there's no, I mean, there's really nothing to discuss, I suppose, at that point, you know, whether or not we even open
I'll
or
just
just.
contact the departments next week and see if they have any further comments. If you'd like.
You asked for that, that's all.
Yeah, certainly my feeling is, on this matter of ascertaining that we have all the possible feedback that is available, is that in a good faith effort to proceed with a review of the application and the steps that we need to do it, I certainly don't want us to be in a position where we have any documentation that by virtue of age could be suspect in the whole process. And I think that's why waiting for feedback in the form, or in my own opinion, you know, the selectmen's original response, which to the new application was, hey, listen, just look at our comments based on the old one and apply what applies and what doesn't, you know, they get back to us. That, you know, it's like, I don't know if we're gonna have the same interpretation of what applies and what doesn't, and whether or not it needs to be reviewed or not. So those kinds of things, an updated document that makes everything current from the point we're moving forward, as opposed to before where we had timelines, multiple timelines happening all over the place.
Well, I don't know if you know it, but that item that the Board of Selectmen referred to has been recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
I don't know that I have that with me. I have some documents with me. That's old, to my knowledge. That's old.
This is old,
Yeah.
this is the old one?
Yeah, I thought I had a new one, but that's the old one, because that still shows the original,
10
Yeah.
duplexes?
10
23
and
pounds.
I
2.
have a new one.
I know.
could've
I thought you
found-
gave it to me. I did. I can't find it. I thought this was it. That's why I found it.
Okay, this is the old. Dated August 15, 2017.
Right.
This is the prior application.
Right.
But they gotta waive it again, because it's a new application by a new owner.
Right.
How many times does he have to record at the Registry of Deeds?
Well,
It's
a
not the
totally
same
different
guy.
deal. It's a totally different deal.
They waived a prior application by a prior owner.
It's Marion Way LLC.
Oh, come on.
I mean, you know, this is now 4 years old. And, you know, one of the selectmen, there are only 4 of the 5, and one of the 4 signers is not even on board anymore.
But it's not the same owner. It's
Exactly.
not the same application.
I mean,
So
I
it's
mean,
a
that's a
simple
legal
document.
question that I, you know, that I'm
It's a
willing to.
formality, I don't see any problem, but you can't, just because the selectmen waived their right to exercise a right they had on a prior application by a prior owner, doesn't mean that they're necessarily gonna do it this time. I'm sure they will. But we can't look and say, oh, well, 4 years ago they waived it,
So
I'm sure they'll
was
waive it
that-
this time.
When you say prior, was that waiver 4 years ago or 2 years? I mean, with this
That
latest
document's dated 14.
2014.
So not the application that came in a year ago.
Right.
Because I'm viewing it as, I'm not a new owner from the application from a year ago.
No,
It's
no,
just
no.
ownership is
No, no.
changed. Okay.
The prior
I just wanted to
application.
fully understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I requested Don Greeno to address that issue, and he's on vacation, he just got back last week, and as soon as he gets to it, I'll forward it to you people.
Yeah, I think Bob is right. I don't know why you can't do it. Why you can't just go to the Board of Selectmen and ask to be on the agenda and say, hello, I need you to do this.
Well, because by law, they could take up to 120 days to do it.
Well, that's their prerogative by
I
law.
know,
None
I
of us
know.
have control of
I
that
know, who's doing
situation.
it?
Right.
Who presents
Do
it?
they meet weekly? Do you know?
At least bi-weekly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the summer or winter.
On how
I
busy it is.
I will get that done at the beginning of the week. I will go in and personally get that on the agenda. to
Yeah,
do.
I don't really think
Yeah.
it's,
It's a formality, but it's an important one.
yeah, no, it is.
So maybe not even it's a formality.
No, Mass Housing requires it, it's part of it. It's part of the application process that has to be submitted. But, approval or denial, the town has to have demonstrated their official position currently on the application.
I mean, I think I misunderstood. I think when there was a discussion about new owner and new application, it was referring to the amendment that I proposed back a few months ago, and in fact, that's not what you're referring to.
No, that's not what we're
We're going
talking
back
about.
beyond that.
Yeah, only because they're documented and, dates it.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a request. I'm not sure I think it's in order, but I'll just put it out there. And I was going through the application and looking at, and I ran out tonight and didn't bring it with me, but I don't think I'm wrong. There's a list of the sections of the bylaw that you ask for relief from. Yeah, the waivers. But all it says is this section, this section, this section, this section, this section. I think what would be, so for us to understand it, we'd have to go through, get out the section, go through, find the evidence, find what the specifics are that you're asking be waived. I mean, you've got, what, 12 houses now?
Yes.
So not every front yard is going to be the same, not every side yard is going to be the same. If it's possible, without, writing a phone book, to have some kind of summary so that we can say, for side yard variances,
A
they,
minimum of.
they average, no less than this, no more than this, setbacks, frontages, whatever it is, whatever you're asking, so that the specifics of not only the section you're asking for a waiver from, but what the bylaw requires, and then what you're providing. You may have sections where you say, well, in 6 of the lots, of the 6 of the 12, I don't even need a waiver because we're complying with the bylaw. So if that could be done in a fashion that's relatively succinct, I think it would help everybody pull it together,
Fully
particularly
agree.
where it's so much different than the prior application.
Yep, fully agree. And John and I we talked about it this past week, about putting it so that maybe it's just a cover page of the full, subdivision
Yeah,
plan.
or a spreadsheet, something like that.
Something listed, but my preference would be, for instance, when you're talking about lot sizes, front yards requirements, side, front, and rear setbacks, is that I don't go lot by lot, that just, you take the lowest one or what's reasonable, because as one gets into building, there could be some slight movement or changes to a house, and if we're gonna maintain a minimum of 10 feet side and say 20 front, that we would request a waiver from the, what's required to 10 side, 20 front, 40 rear, something like that. So
Sure,
it
and then if
gives
we
a-
have a question,
And then I
say,
can, with the
well, wait a
building
minute, we need a
inspector,
little more
move it
on
if I
this. Yeah,
needed
yeah.
to adjust a house, or if a buyer came along and wanted a slightly larger home, or something like that, just to allow that possibility. And because I know some of the questions that Board of Health have had, and, you know,
Yes.
they're all relating to
Yes.
similar things, so, and I have as well, so I,
You know, during the first round, you will recall, this is prior to your involvement, we reached several points where there were a number of issues that needed to be explored, and we drafted a list of requests for John, so that it wasn't a matter of you guys leaving, and in that instance, most of the time, John, and going, what did they want? Oh, okay, I think I got it. Because there are so many little balls in the air. And I would, you know, consistent with all this conversation, I mean, I'm looking, the only copy of the application I have is this one that is submitted here. And that's the only full copy of the application, to my knowledge, that exists. There have been some new plans, but this is the only application. Most of the data in this application packet doesn't apply any. And really, this packet, it needs to be edited. These show all the duplex buildings and all the layouts of the duplex. We're not even talking about those anymore. You know, it shows the old original P&S. You know, I think you need to unbind this, John, and page by page say what is relevant and what isn't. And in that, as Bob has said, think about addressing the whole waiver issue, which you did do in the original application, because we had a number of back and forth on that whole subject and how to deal with it.
One of the other issues was that on the waivers, the reason for asking them was it was not economical. Okay? And what we want is, we want to know why that particular waiver, if it's an economic feature, how it applies to your prospectus, your, I can't think of the word. Pro forma. Okay, how that, what is the effect to the pro forma if you don't get that waiver?
If you're claiming an economic,
That you
you know,
claim it's not-
hardship.
We want to know, we want to know the dollar figure.
Right.
We don't want to see just a statement saying it's not economical. We want to see the figure.
However, the explanation you just provided, which is, listen, if you give me 10 and 10 and 40 as a general setback model, I want to know that if I have a need to, in one case, go to 9, we're not going to run into a problem. Is there going to be somebody to do it? That's why I'm asking for a certain type of waiver. That's a request which, so here's where I think that could occur. It might occur on these lots. I don't know if it will be. That gives us a little more understanding of a waiver request than just, I don't know, things may change, so I need to do this kind of thing. I mean, it takes a little more paperwork on your end, but it helps us justify acting positively on a request.
And from my point of view, continuances don't bother me so much as long as we see progress.
From continuous to
You know, you don't come back on and say nothing new. We want to see something every month.
So is there a question regarding the application? Is it really important that, I mean, the application got the ball rolling, and there's been significant changes to the plans that were submitted with that application, is it from, at the point in time where you are able or ready to make a decision based on feedback, is it not then the set of plans, as long as all of the pertinent data is in that set of plans that you're voting on, as opposed to revising an application, which is, you know, so kind of going back to the beginning?
It's kind of going back to the beginning. And I don't think any of us want to make you work any harder than you have to. Certainly I don't.
So what I'm
But we
thinking
can't
is
do
it's
it.
better.
We don't want to have to do it.
No, I
That's the
don't
point.
understand, but what I'm thinking is that the set of plans has all of the data and all of the waivers specified and detailed in the plans. You are then voting on accepting these plans under an application for a 40B, under the 40B statute.
In my opinion, in and of itself, that would be true. We're going to vote on the plans and all of the conditions surrounding
Correct.
creating the plans as we see them. What we can't have are inconsistencies in who are we actually approving to buy the property? Who is actually signing off on it, the deal? Is the town really signed off on it?
No, that part I understand.
Those are all elements of, in my opinion, those are all circumstances which would enable an individual who chooses to explore appealing the decision to find an easy avenue to do so. And
Correct.
we
So-
don't like that in our decision, we don't like that in
Yeah.
anything we write.
So I fully understand and agree with, and the second piece would be an updated pro forma, which is the justification of the economic reasons, but not necessarily on a waiver by waiver piece. It would be, this is the project we're proposing, this is the new pro forma, which completely removes and updates what's in that application. So I clearly would suggest that we would provide a new pro forma, which has this 12-lot subdivision with the waivers and requests, and it's going to show a number which is X percent profit, which will be well under the minimum standard of 20, which shows economic hardship, but I'm not sure anything's gained by us saying, you know, trying to, it's difficult to put a dollar value on. We have a 10-yard setback versus a 15-yard setback, or, I mean, 15-foot, because the whole project is based on those lot sizes, those setbacks, putting a house in there. The same with the road, the drainage, the septic setbacks being 50, not, you know what I'm saying? The whole thing is part and parcel of the making and being able to build 12 lots on this parcel. So I'm not sure it's possible to really put a dollar value waiver by waiver, but just value on a pro forma basis the entire project, which includes those specific waivers.
I think Chairman Thurston's request regarding the impact of a waiver request on the pro forma would only apply where you're asking for a waiver simply on the basis of, if we do it any other way, we can't afford to do this whole project, which is what we saw a lot of the justification originally. And that's, that if you're gonna say, you know, here's our numbers, we need to make 19%, and if you don't give us this waiver, we can't do it. Well, you know, that was so broad. It was like, come on, do we need to get some financial people in here? We don't want to do that. We're talking about building lots, and we're talking about, you know, developing a property. We're not talking about, is it really costs $37,000 to put a bathroom in, or is it $22,000? I mean, we don't want to crunch those numbers. We want to go there. But when we see a request saying we want, you know, some sort of a waiver because it's economically infeasible for us to proceed otherwise, that's where you'd have to say, show us. Show it. It doesn't mean we won't grant it, but if we don't
No, I
understand
understand, but that would be contained in the overall pro forma of
it. Yes, well, presumably.
building the road, developing it, the purchase price, building houses, and building the
Presumably.
thing out.
Right.
And that number, because, I mean, I've done them, and they're not in a form that I could hand to you,
Yeah.
it's well below the requirement of meeting the, the threshold that the state allows,
Okay.
which is 20%. Now, it'll be a long ways from that, which I think I mentioned at other meetings, and I wasn't looking to max that out. I would prefer to build 12 nice homes than try to put 20 duplexes and get a slightly bigger number, but, it's,
Would you refresh my mind unless somebody knows, what's the total? We're talking about, because we had this conversation, 7 acres, right? It's about
6.52.
6 point, now is that includes all the available space, correct?
That's the streets in there.
With the street? How big is the street? How many square feet is the street? You know off the top of your head, John?
Well, it's 800 by 55.
about an acre, a little more than.
Some
40,000.
I got
Yeah,
800 by 55.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
it's a little over an acre, it leaves about 5, and the lots are averaging just under a half acre, in that 18,000-20,000 range.
So that's a waiver issue, not unlike ONG. Because ONG's principal issue was he was putting in a street that's 32.5 according to his plan, square feet, and you need to request a waiver anything over 2,500. That's why it's here. So there are probably going to be some good back and forth, and as Bob says, we need data. We need some data that we can all chew on and spit back and forth, and that way there's likely to be progress instead of us just feeling like we couldn't accomplish anything tonight and you feeling like, well, they didn't ask for anything tonight, so what do we do now?
I would think that to the extent that you have development costs that apply to the entire project, if it's an economic feature, you can say, this relates to each and every house, so here's the cost, dividing by 12. You don't have to get specific to the lots. I mean, that's one way to go about it, to the waivers that are applicable to all lots, and use some numbers, and then you do it once instead of 12 times.
I mean, most of the waivers are related to the project being 12 houses on smaller
Sure.
than normal lots. So the waivers on sizes and waivers on setbacks from septic to, all of those things that require a bigger lot in Rowley to build on. I mean, most of them are related to that. There's a few on the road, which makes the road a little less expensive, but.
As long as we have some empirical data to work from.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're aware of this, but the letter that we discussed in the last meeting, I think, from Concom, which is dated June 21, in which they essentially say, okay, we have the plans, but they're not as complete as we need them to be, and we can't come close to giving you an opinion about it. That's not even 30 days old. A lot of what is different from 10 duplexes may be impacted in the way you have the 12 houses laid out. And it's been implied that it's going to be, we're going to have to get involved with an engineer with that final plan, to have an engineer just go out and say, yeah, everything that you put together here works. Those are all time frames, but as recent as 30 days ago, that's telling me that he says that his word is a starting point. A starting point. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take Brent to do that, but it's a starting point. So throw a lot of data at us and give us something else to analyze coming from the other departments, and then maybe we'll feel like we're moving somewhere. That's the only thing I could suggest. Because I would love to drive down Dodge Road and see you having tractors going in there and doing something, but we can't get there the way we're going. Because there's a lot of tractors going on all around the town right now. I I'm amazed.
Pretty much of
One thing I might mention, we've been talking to the Board of Health, and they say that this is a new application. It's not a new application, it's a new plan,
Right.
and they have all the data. So we'll square them away the first of the week. They have all the percolation data.
Well, that's fine, again, even with them, the last memo we have from the health department, as far as I know, is the one I have here, which is dated October. So
No,
even
there's
that
a-
is now,
There's a more recent one.
okay. I mean, we don't have a clue.
You read one at the last meeting.
Is that
There was
this?
some feedback from them at the last meeting, I believe.
I've got one, I'm pretty sure I've got it with me here.
Board of Health, Concom,
Concom
Plan.
gave us one.
all looking for more information.
June 18th,
You have a June
Tom.
18th letter. What is that, what do they say there?
I'm sorry?
John, what do they say? What are they saying?
They were looking for more information, so that's why I asked that question in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked if,
They all want more information.
yeah, so, I mean, that's why I'm wondering why we're here until we get that done. You find out what they want, you gotta deal with that. And that helps us.
For purposes of the next meeting, is there a point in time or a date, depending on our progress, where as a courtesy, a continuance doesn't, I don't want to ruffle feathers, like for instance, putting in for a continuance this afternoon at the last minute. Is there a time frame where we would make that judgment whether or not, so that we're not wasting people's time in a meeting?
No, you could.
Because I don't want to,
No,
go through this
we've
multiple
had
times.
We've had continuances phoned in at,
Boy, it is.
yeah,
okay. So that's not, I just don't want to,
What are you saying?
Ruffle
You're
feathers.
looking for maybe 60 days is more practical?
well, I don't know yet, but I don't
Oh,
want to do it
okay.
at the last second. I mean, obviously in 2 weeks' time, we'd have a lot better idea, or 3 weeks' time, a week ahead of time. But I don't, I just don't want, I want to do what's right.
No,
so-
no,
Thing is, if you come in, maybe it's better you go for the miss two meetings, come in the second meeting, and have all the information that you're supposed to have. So we have something to work with. Instead of trying
That's
to
why I'm
watch it on
asking. I
Monday.
mean, I'm hoping or thinking that it could be, but I
Yeah.
can't promise that.
well,
But
on
I'd like to.
occasion, we have 60-day requests for continuances because, and that's fine, you can do that at any point in time. You can request further if you need more time.
Well,
It just
so I'd
delays
like
the
to
process.
request at this point that we continue it to August, but, we'll make that assessment in 2 or 3 weeks' time as to whether that's realistic. Because obviously your departments, I mean, I know Brent's got a lot on his table right now, and we're meeting with him at the beginning of the week. And if he can't get where he needs to, and he may, then it would make sense for us to continue, because
It's not uncommon for an app that's contingent on another board's review or approval or department's
Okay,
to, we're not ready.
yeah.
Okay, not your fault.
All right, so why don't we just continue this till August, and if you
Right.
find that you need more time,
But, yeah,
email.
just email Lisa.
Okay.
Email Lisa. And,
Perfect.
And with the request to continue to September.
Okay, very good.
All right,
Okay.
so, and we'll get on
So while it didn't appear to be a totally productive hearing and meeting, from my perspective, it was in the sense that we did at least define better the expectations, as opposed to just getting stuff to Brent or whatever, that there's more that you were looking for and that we might not have clearly identified prior. So I think it was productive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to feel that, if you need a continuance, you need a continuance. I would rather do that, as Dave says, and then bring us some information, because it'll be available, you know, you'll have it in 2.5 weeks, which is not good for now, but it's fine for the next meeting. That's okay.
Okay, great.
Good.
Okay, motion to continue this till August.
So moved.
Second. Motion made second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Have a good
Okay,
summer.
thank you very much.
What's left of it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.